Hey, this is Chad with Drawn and Cornered. It is November 24th, 2021, this day before Thanksgiving. It's a Wednesday, last news day, I guess, of the week. So hopefully we'll have something good. First thing that we've got is the kind of fallout from the Rittenhouse trial and the verdict, the not guilties across the board, and the fact that many on the left are still wildly unable to let go of the narrative that this is somehow a miscarriage of justice or problematic in any way. This is about as cut and dry as you will ever find of a self-defense case, and the fact that they're pushing back against this is a great indicator of what the goal is and why specifically it's important to maintain that goal. And I will illustrate this through the Arbery case. So far, this has been a pretty also cut and dry trial. The prosecutor did an awesome job in here, essentially highlighting the fact that a self-defense claim in this instance is unwarranted, sort of ridiculous, wasn't even necessarily a reasonable claim from them all the way across the board. So we'll see how that goes. The jury is currently in deliberation. We could have another kind of Friday surprise and get the verdict on there. I expect that to go full guilty across the board with each one of those individuals. They will get murder and probably be a pretty healthy agreement in that murder trial. But again, we'll see. This is Georgia, so anything goes. But the importance of those two separate verdicts is why people are hounding Rittenhouse so heavily. It's because Arbery looks to go the way that we all want it to. There's almost uniform consensus that these guys are guilty. Everybody who saw that video had the same sickening drop in your stomach with what happened to Ahmaud Arbery. There is no circumstance where that should happen. And even if, and I don't think the defense did a good job even remotely coming close to proving this, but even if he was stealing something that day, the way that it was handled subsequently with the tracking him down, hunting him down, putting themselves in essentially an ambush position for him, and then shooting him when he tries to get past them or around them or eventually fights for his life, there's no self-defense claim there. So it's wiped clean, and the fact that he was or wasn't robbing is inconsequential to that step forward. They did not have the right to put themselves in an ambush position, and then once they put themselves in an ambush position, they have no right to claim self-defense for it. So they're hosed. They should be, at least. So we'll see where that goes. But it's important that if that one goes the way we all expect, the narrative of this being an unfair justice system and us being a racist society and systemic racism still permeating every institution of America kind of falls down a little bit. This is Georgia, for instance. This is not New York City. This is not LA. This is not Chicago or some other bastion of liberal ideology. This is Georgia, where folks would expect that maybe there's a little bit of old-timey racism that just kind of sticks around, and not Atlanta, Georgia. This is outside in the boonies, Georgia. So the fact that even in that area, we're not seemingly able to get these white boys off for killing a black man in a brutally awful way would show that maybe we're not as bad off as they want you to believe. That's why they're hitting Kyle Rittenhouse so hard, because they want you to believe that the only reason he got off is because he's white, and the only reason he got off is because he was attacking protesters at a Black Lives Matter rally. Forget the fact that there were white protesters that he attacked at a Black Lives Matter rally, and forget the fact that they actually attacked him to provoke that response. It's all inconsequential. It's the fact that he was at a Black Lives Matter rally, killed white people at a Black Lives Matter rally, and then got off because he was using self-defense as a claim. They will talk about white vigilantism. They will talk about the unfair system. They will talk about what would have happened if Kyle Rittenhouse was black. And I think this is really the great point that you can draw from the narrative and the scope of what they're trying to create around this case. They say, what if he was black? His case would have gone differently. Great. Okay, let's talk about that then. His case would have gone differently. Does that mean that the case with the black Rittenhouse was the right version of it? If he had been guilty, if the black Rittenhouse had been guilty, is that the proper justification for that? Is that the proper outcome? Or should the black person get the same outcome as Rittenhouse? You would say the black person has just as much right to self-defense and just as much right to protect themselves in those circumstances as Kyle Rittenhouse did, right? And maybe that doesn't happen. And I'm all with you. If that doesn't happen to a black defendant, then that's a problem. That is a miscarriage of justice. To call Kyle Rittenhouse is a miscarriage of justice because he got proper justice and we want the same thing for a black person doesn't make any sense. You should be holding up Kyle Rittenhouse being like, yes, this is what we want. This is exactly how this should go. He got off, and that's good. We want the same type of capability. But that's not what you're hearing. And that shows you that it's not about elevating to the proper, justified position. It's about dragging everybody down because they believe, the left, that if I've got it bad, everybody should have it bad. And that's a problem. That's not where we want to go. That doesn't progress anybody forward. That doesn't move us any better off. These are the folks that believe that things haven't gotten better since 1960. The racism in America is just as bad as it always was. This is what is so insidious about CRT. This is what is so terrible about Ibram X. Kendi's philosophy and Robin DiAngelo's philosophy, that the evils that were existing in the 1800s, the late 1800s, the early 1900s, all the way through 1960 with the Civil Rights Act, those evils still exist. They're just more undercover. They're more below the surface. They're more institutional or systemic, things that we just accept as the natural course of America's institutions because that's just what it was built on. That's what it was founded on. But that's not what we're seeing here. We're seeing that a lot of these cases are showing the exact opposite. And because of that crumbling of their narrative, because of the crumbling of that ideology, they're fighting back. They're pushing back significantly against this idea. And I think that's what's important to recognize. When you ask people that have the problem with Kyle Rittenhouse, what would you expect if Kyle Rittenhouse had been black? Turn it around on them. When they say, what if Kyle Rittenhouse had been black? Say, yes, what if Kyle Rittenhouse had been black? What should have happened? And they'll tell you, well, the cops would have killed him, or the crowd would have killed him, or he would have been guilty. Okay, that's what may have happened, right? And I'm not even necessarily ceding that point. That's what may have happened. What do you think should have happened if Kyle Rittenhouse was black? Should he have had the opportunity to defend himself? Should he have had the opportunity to carry a weapon? Should he have been allowed to progress through with the cops not shooting him dead? Should he? In the world that we want to create, is that something that should have happened, whether Kyle Rittenhouse was black or white? That's the question that needs to be asked to those folks. And unfortunately, nobody's asking that. They're not asking it of President Biden. They're not asking it of Kamala Harris. They're not asking it of any of the folks of the squad. Anybody who had a negative reaction to Kyle Rittenhouse's verdict, they're not asking that question. And that's the question that most needs to be asked. Next story that we're going to get into is the push for 2024. Now, this is so interesting and will lead us to some really exciting times over the next few years. Biden came forward and said he is planning on running in 2024. That will be extraordinary, as he'll be 82, 83 at that time. But it's also really important to recognize that normally that's a foregone conclusion. In Biden's case, with the extraordinarily low numbers, with the extraordinarily high numbers of people that don't think he's all there mentally to be able to do the presidency, that's a massive statement. Hey, we're planning on, don't worry, we're planning on running in 4 years, 3 years. That is pretty incredible. What you're seeing from the Democratic Party, though, and from a lot of the institutions underneath the Democratic Party, from Politico, New York Times, Washington Post, is trying to sort of put feelers out for other candidates. They're talking about the amazing job that Pete Buttigieg is doing and how he's really a great front runner for the possibilities in 2024. They're trying to rehabilitate Kamala's image, although I don't know how you're going to do that. She's a terrible politician. She didn't even rank in the Democratic primary, dumped out before she even got to her own state, where she also got like less than 1% of the vote. It's just abysmally bad politician, and she is your VP, which would mean she's probably the most likely to step into that role of your next candidate, and she is all but toast. So you're going to see them start pushing other opportunities, other candidates out there. They're going to kind of skyline certain other candidates to see if the American people dig on that individual. The problem with this is with the intersectionality, Pete Buttigieg is known as the gay candidate. There's a lot of problems with that in the black community. So your intersectionality, if you are not being judged as an individual, you're being judged as a gay man. You're being judged as a black man or a black woman. You're going to start seeing those cracks in there. It's actually going to be their downfall, is that the thing that makes you so important is your individuality, but not when it comes to progressives. When it comes to progressives, the thing that makes you most important are these immutable characteristics that you have, whether it's a gay man or a black woman. But those are also going to be the things that break apart your intersectional coalition. And it will be interesting to see the battles between all of these different groups and what they will and will not tolerate in a candidate, or accept in a candidate, or encourage or vaunt in a candidate, because some of them don't necessarily mesh particularly well. The only way this is changed, and the only thing that does this slightly different, is if Trump happens to run. Or you'll see that they all try to run against Trump regardless of whether he's actually on the ticket. Every candidate that the Republicans put up will be a Trumpian candidate, because they will try to tamp down the warring factions on their own side. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. Keep your eyes out for different Democratic candidates to be pushed forward, and to see kind of a litmus test or a toe in the water for whether or not their candidacy in 2024 is viable. Thank you very much for watching. This is Chad again with Drawn and Cornered. Wow, my hand is shaking. We do videos like this every day with a little bit of news, a little bit of analysis. If you like that sort of thing, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you get notifications every time we release a video, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I don't know what we're going to be doing over the weekend, maybe if there's something good happening, or over the Thanksgiving weekend, but maybe you'll see us tomorrow, maybe you won't. If not, we'll see you back on Monday, or if any big news breaks. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in the next one.